When we speak of love and relationships, we are not just speaking of romance, we are speaking of trust, kindness, patience, and the ability to truly see one another. Love is not about perfection, it is about acceptance, and relationships are built not only on beautiful moments, but also on the challenges that test our strength. From my own life, I have come to realize that love is not measured by words alone, but by the way we make each other feel safe, valued, and respected. Love must be rooted in honesty and sincerity, without masks or pretenses, because only the truth allows two hearts to remain united. And when I reflect upon this, I realize how deeply important it is for two people to meet one another, not through appearances or facades, but through the raw and unpolished reality of who they are. For love that grows on falsehood is like a flower placed in soil with no nourishment. It may bloom for a moment, but it withers as time demands its truth. And so honesty in love is not simply a moral duty. It is the lifeline that allows trust to breathe and blossom. Because when two souls choose each other, they must also choose the courage to reveal the parts of themselves that are tender, imperfect, and vulnerable. And that courage creates a bond that no storm can shake. For love that thrives on sincerity can endure not only the light of happy days, but also the shadows of trials. And when I speak of honesty, I do not mean cruel or careless words that wound. I mean the gentle yet firm willingness to share one's feelings, to speak when something hurts, to celebrate when something uplifts, to admit when one is wrong, and to express when one is afraid. Because in those moments of truth, we do not weaken love, we strengthen it. And I have seen how often relationships falter, not because love has disappeared, but because honesty was neglected when masks were worn too long and truth was hidden beneath layers of silence or pretense. And in time that silence grows heavy, it becomes a war between two hearts that once sought closeness. So sincerity must be present from the beginning, even when it feels difficult, even when it makes us feel exposed. Because to love without truth is to build a home upon shifting sands. And no matter how beautiful the structure, it cannot last. And when we are honest in love, we give our partner the freedom to know us as we truly are, to love us not for who they imagine us to be, but for who we are in our most authentic form. And there is a quiet strength in being loved in truth, for it liberates us from fear. It allows us to grow without pretending. It permits us to fail without shame, and it encourages us to share dreams without hiding. And sincerity is not only about confessing faults or bearing secrets, it is also about living consistently with the values we claim to hold. It is about showing through actions the loyalty and respect we profess in words. It is about proving through choices that love is not a fleeting emotion, but a steady commitment. And when both people in a relationship live in this truth, there is harmony that cannot be easily broken, for trust becomes unshakable. And once trust is unshakable, love becomes a sanctuary, a safe place where two souls can rest and find comfort in one another. And I often think of how many hearts ache in silence because they are not allowed to be honest, because they are afraid of rejection if they speak their truth, and yet love that punishes honesty is not love at all. It is a shadow of it, for true love welcomes truth. Even when it is hard to hear, it makes space for honesty, because it knows that only in truth can love grow deeper. And so sincerity must not be an occasional act, but the very foundation upon which the relationship stands. And it is in the small daily choices that this honesty reveals itself, in the way one admits tiredness rather than hiding behind a smile, in the way one shares worries instead of carrying them alone, in the way one asks comfort instead of pretending to be unshaken. And through these simple but profound truths, love deepens. And there is no fear greater in relationships than the fear of being unseen. And honesty dissolves that fear. It whispers to the heart that it is safe, it is valued, it is known, and in that safety two people can flourish, for they no longer need to perform or pretend, they need only to be. And so I believe that honesty and sincerity are not just virtues of love, but its very lifeblood, for when truth flows freely between hearts, love becomes enduring, unbreakable, and real. Love requires patience and forgiveness, for no bond can survive without the grace of understanding each other's flaws. And when two hearts choose to walk together, they are not promising perfection, they're promising presence. They're promising to remain through the moments of disappointment and mistakes. And in those moments, patience becomes the shield that protects love from breaking under the weight of frustration, because no person is free from faults and no relationship is free from challenges. And when we expect perfection, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we embrace patience, we allow love to grow stronger through imperfection. And forgiveness becomes its companion. For without forgiveness, wounds remain open and resentments silently grow. And even the smallest grievances, when left unhealed, can turn into barriers that block affection. But when forgiveness is given, healing enters, and the bond becomes resilient, because forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean excusing harm. It means choosing to move forward, choosing love over bitterness. And when two people practice this again and again, the relationship becomes a place of mercy rather than judgment. And I believe patience is not just waiting, but the ability to endure with grace, to hold space for the other person's growth, to understand that change does not happen overnight, and that love is not proven only in moments of ease, but in how we carry one another through moments of weakness. And when one partner stumbles, patience says, you are more than your mistake, you are worthy of time and effort. And forgiveness says, I will not let this pain define us, I will allow us to heal. And in this exchange, love does not weaken, it becomes unbreakable, because it is built on the awareness that neither person is flawless, and both will need grace, and when grace is offered generously, it creates safety, a safety where mistakes are not the end, but opportunities to rebuild, to learn, and to grow closer. And yet patience and forgiveness are often the hardest virtues to practice, because pride resists, ego resists, the hurt resists, but love calls us to rise above those barriers, to choose humility, to choose compassion, and to choose peace, because without these choices, love cannot last. And when we hold on to anger more tightly than we hold on to love, the bond weakens. But when we let forgiveness soften anger and patience calm disappointment, the relationship thrives. And it is important to understand that patience is not passivity, it is not accepting mistreatment, it is a strength that allows time for growth. And forgiveness is not surrendering one's worth. It is protecting love from being poisoned by resentment, and together they become the lifeblood of enduring love, because every relationship will have misunderstandings, every love story will have moments of pain, but the couples who endure are the ones who choose to forgive rather than resent, who choose to wait rather than give up, who choose to mend rather than abandon, and in that choice love is renewed again and again. And in truth, patience and forgiveness are the quiet heroes of every lasting bond, for passion may ignite love, respect may sustain it, but patience and forgiveness keep it alive when everything else seems heavy, reminding two hearts that they are not enemies but partners, not perfect beings but flawed souls who have chosen to love despite it all. One must never lose themselves while loving another, for true love allows individuality to shine and does not demand silence of the soul, because when two people come together in a relationship, it is not to erase one another, but to walk side by side with their own dreams, their own voices, and their own light. And love that seeks to control or diminish the essence of who we are is not love but possession, for real love understands that every soul carries its own purpose, its own passions, and its own truth. And to truly love someone is to honor that uniqueness, to encourage it to grow, and to celebrate it without fear, for there is no beauty in losing oneself to please another. No joy in silencing one's desires to keep the peace, no fulfillment in living only through another's expectations. And yet so many hearts make this sacrifice, believing that surrendering identity will protect the bond. But what it truly does is slowly erase the spirit that love was drawn to in the first place, because the spark of attraction comes from authenticity, from the individuality that shines, and when that is hidden or silenced, love begins to feel empty, for it is no longer nourished by truth. And I have seen how often relationships break when one person feels unseen, unheard, or unvalued for who they truly are. And that is why protecting individuality within love is essential. It ensures that the relationship is not built on control, but on freedom, not on fear, but on respect. And when love is genuine, it will never demand that you abandon yourself. It will instead remind you of your worth, encourage you to stand strong in your identity, and support you as you grow into the person you are meant to be. And individuality does not threaten closeness, it strengthens it, because two whole people create a stronger bond than two half-formed versions of themselves. And when each person nurtures their passions, their interests, and their dreams, they bring richness into the relationship, they bring new experiences to share, and they keep love alive with growth rather than stagnation. And so we must understand that love is not about losing independence, but about balancing togetherness with selfhood, about knowing that we can be deeply connected while still remaining fully ourselves. And in fact, it is only when we remain true to ourselves that we can offer genuine love, because love that comes from sacrifice of identity soon turns into resentment, and resentment is a poison that erodes even the strongest bond. And so the courage to remain authentic is not selfishness, it is the highest form of love, for it says, I will not lie about who I am, I will not pretend to be less so that you may feel more, I will love you as I am, and I will allow you to love me as you are. And in this exchange of truth, the relationship becomes unbreakable, and many people fear that if they show their true selves, they may not be accepted. But the love that cannot embrace authenticity is not a love worth keeping, because real love is not frightened by individuality, it is inspired by it. And when two people allow each other the freedom to grow, to change and to express, they create a bond that is alive, flexible and strong. And so one must remember never to sacrifice the essence of their soul in the name of love, because love that silences you is not love, and love that uplifts you, empowers you and protects your individuality is the only love that endures. Respect must always stand beside love, for without respect, affection becomes fragile and trust begins to fade. And when we speak of relationships, we often think of love as the strongest pillar, but love without respect is like a flame without air. It cannot survive for long, because respect is the silent force that shapes the way two people treat one another. It is the quiet discipline that prevents words from becoming weapons and actions from becoming careless. It is the awareness that every soul deserves dignity, no matter how close or familiar we may become. And when respect is present, it creates safety, it builds trust, it allows love to grow without fear of being diminished. And I have come to realize that love alone can sometimes blind us to mistakes, but respect will always remind us to value, to listen, and to honor. And when two people respect one another, they naturally guard each other's feelings, they take care with their words, they remain mindful of boundaries, they listen with sincerity, and they do not treat each other's trust as something that can be taken for granted. For respect makes love not just passionate, but sustainable. And it is often said that passion fades, but what truly sustains love through years and challenges is the deep respect that keeps two people grounded. Because with respect there is no need for control, there is no need for fear, and there is no room for belittling or dismissing. And when respect is missing, even the most intense love cannot remain whole, because every relationship requires equality, and respect is the language of equality. It is the recognition that no one is above the other, that no voice is more deserving, that no dream is too small to be acknowledged. And when this equality is absent, love becomes strained, it becomes a struggle for power rather than a union of hearts. And I believe respect is shown not only in grand actions, but in everyday details, in the way one listens attentively, in the way one allows the other to speak without interruption, in the way one honors promises made, in the way one refrains from harshness even when anger rises, because love will always face moments of disagreement, but respect ensures that even in disagreement there is care, and this is what protects a bond from being broken. And it is in the smallest moments that respect is tested, for it is easy to be respectful when all is peaceful, but true respect shows itself when frustration and conflict arise, when it becomes tempting to wound with words or withdraw affection. Yet respect holds us steady and reminds us that love cannot thrive where dignity is sacrificed, and I have seen how many people confuse control with care. But there is no care in taking away someone's freedom. There is no love in silencing their truth, for love that is genuine must be paired with respect that allows the other to be fully themselves. And when partners honor each other in this way, the relationship becomes a place of strength rather than insecurity, a place of growth rather than limitation, and over time respect becomes the foundation upon which trust is built. For without it, trust cannot last, because when words are careless, when promises are broken, when voices are ignored, trust erodes quietly until love itself feels uncertain. But when respect is alive, trust grows deeper, it becomes unshakable. It becomes the very soil in which love flourishes, and this is why respect must always stand beside love, not behind it, not beneath it, but beside it as an equal. For love may ignite the bond, but respect sustains it. It carries it through storms, it keeps it steady in change, and it ensures that no matter how many years pass, love will never feel like a burden. It will always feel like a safe place where two hearts are valued equally. Above all, never settle for a love that diminishes you, because the right love will uplift, protect, and remind you of your worth. And when I reflect on what it means to truly be cherished, I see that love should never feel like a cage or a burden. It should never silence your voice or make you question your value, because real love does not demand that you shrink yourself to fit into someone else's vision. It does not ask you to carry pain in exchange for companionship. It does not weaken your spirit, but instead strengthens it. And so many people accept a love that makes them small out of fear of loneliness or the belief that they are not worthy of more. But that is a mistake that leads only to emptiness, because love that diminishes robs you of your light. It convinces you that compromise must mean erasing your dreams. It convinces you that sacrifice must mean silencing your needs. But true love is the opposite. True love will see your strength and celebrate it. It will see your flaws and embrace them. It will see your dreams and encourage them. And it will never compete with your worth, but always protect it. And when love is right, it feels like a safe place where you can stand tall, where you can speak freely, where you can be vulnerable without fear of rejection, and where you can shine without being dimmed. And the love that uplifts will never be threatened by your growth. Instead, it will grow alongside you. It will not punish your independence, but applaud it. It will not silence your truth, but listen to it. And so one must never settle for less, never mistake possession for love, never confuse control with care, because the bond that strips you of dignity is not love at all, it is only a shadow of it, and love in its truest form is gentle, it is patient, it is kind, but above all it is empowering. It makes you feel that you are more, not less because of it. And sometimes people believe that love must hurt, that to endure suffering is a sign of devotion. But that is not love. Love was never meant to destroy, it was meant to heal. It was meant to be the place where two people become stronger together than they could ever be alone. And so if love makes you doubt yourself, if it makes you feel unworthy, if it strips away your joy, then it is not the love you deserve, because you deserve a love that reminds you each day that you are enough, a love that carries you when you feel weary, a love that guards your heart and never uses it carelessly. And it is better to wait for that love than to settle for one that diminishes. For loneliness with dignity is far better than companionship with chains, and the love worth waiting for will not come with conditions that suffocate you. It will come with freedom that liberates you. It will come with respect that honors you, and it will come with a gentleness that restores you. And the right love will not be perfect, but it will be true. It will not erase challenges, but it will face them with you. It will not demand that you sacrifice who you are, but it will walk with you as you grow into all that you are meant to be. And when you find that kind of love, you will know it not because of grand gestures or empty promises, but because of the peace it brings, the safety it offers, and the joy it sustains. For that love will always uplift you, always protect you, and always remind you of your worth. In relationships, kindness and compassion must be at the center, for it is small gestures of care that hold the deepest meaning. And when I think of what truly sustains love through the trials of life, it is never the grand moments of celebration alone, but the quiet, unspoken acts of thoughtfulness that carry the weight of devotion. Because when two people share a bond, they are not only sharing joy, but also carrying each other's burdens. And it is in these moments that kindness becomes the invisible thread binding two hearts closer. For compassion is the language that speaks louder than words. It is the warmth of a touch, the patience in listening, the gentleness of understanding, even when disagreements arise. And in the absence of kindness, love withers. For affection without compassion becomes hollow, leaving behind a relationship that may appear whole on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. And so every meaningful connection thrives when kindness is not a rare act, but a daily rhythm woven into the way two people treat one another, in the way they speak softly when anger might be easier, in the way they extend patience when mistakes are made, in the way they offer encouragement when the other feels small, because these gestures form the true fabric of intimacy. And I believe compassion is not weakness but strength. For it requires courage to care deeply and to love selflessly, to step outside one's own needs and see the world through the eyes of another. And when we allow compassion to guide us in love, we create a sanctuary where both souls can rest without fear of judgment, where they can heal from life's struggles simply by knowing that they are not alone. And often the smallest gestures become the most unforgettable, the kind words spoken when silence could have been easier, the comforting embrace offered when tears are heavy, the simple act of being present when everything feels uncertain, because in these moments the heart remembers, and love is nourished by the consistency of kindness more than the intensity of fleeting passion. And I have seen how often relationships falter, not because love has faded, but because kindness was neglected, when harsh words replaced gentle understanding, when criticism overshadowed encouragement, when impatience smothered tenderness, and in those moments the bond grows fragile, but when compassion is restored, love begins to breathe again. It begins to feel safe again. It begins to flourish once more, because kindness has the power to heal what conflict has broken. It has the strength to soothe what pride has wounded. And it becomes the reminder that love is not about winning or losing, but about nurturing and uplifting. And when both people choose kindness, even in the midst of struggle, the relationship finds resilience that nothing else can provide. And compassion is not only for the joyful days, but especially for the difficult ones, for it is easy to be kind when all is well. But the true measure of love is revealed in how gently we hold each other when everything feels heavy. And so the practice of kindness must not depend on moods or circumstances. It must become the natural way of being with one another, a constant expression that assures the other person that they are valued, cherished, and seen. And in this way, love becomes not just a fleeting feeling, but a steady presence, for compassion creates depth where shallow affection cannot reach. And kindness creates roots that anchor the bond through every season. And in the end, the relationships that last are not the ones built solely on passion or excitement, but those where kindness flows naturally, where compassion is offered freely, and where two people understand that love is at its strongest when it is gentle, caring, and endlessly giving.